Lyra stood at the edge of the bustling city, her blue skin shimmering under the sunlight. She was an alien from a distant galaxy, her mission clear and her resolve unshakable. The city was vibrant, full of life and noise, but Lyra was focused on one thing: revenge. Years ago, her homeworld was destroyed by humans. They came in their massive ships, bringing fire and destruction. Lyra's family was wiped out in the chaos. Her people had fought bravely, but against the might of the human forces, they stood no chance. Ever since that day, Lyra had sworn to exact revenge on the human race. Now she had come to Earth to make sure that her revenge was not just a dream, but a reality. Lyra's plan was intricate and dangerous. She knew she had to blend in, to be a part of the human world before she could strike. Her strategy was to get close to the humans in a way that no one would suspect her true intentions. To do this, she decided to use a method that might seem unusual: mating with humans. By creating ties with them, she hoped to weaken their bloodlines and bring about the revenge she so desperately sought. She had studied humans extensively. She knew their customs, their language, and their habits. But understanding them and living among them were two very different things. Her first step was to find a suitable location to begin her mission. She chose a small town far from the bustling cities, believing it would be easier to avoid suspicion. In this town, Lyra adopted a human appearance to blend in. She wore simple clothes and practiced speaking in a way that would not draw attention. Her natural beauty was undeniable, but she used it carefully, knowing it could either aid her or reveal her. Lyra's blue skin was hidden under layers of makeup, and her white hair was disguised with a wig. She had to play the part perfectly. Her first target was a young man named Jake. He was kind-hearted and easy to approach. Lyra knew that to make her plan work, she needed to choose someone who would not question her motives. Jake was perfect. He was friendly, open, and had a sense of trust in everyone he met. Lyra's initial approach was careful and calculated. She made sure to present herself as a person in need of help, someone who was new to the town and unfamiliar with its ways. Jake welcomed her with open arms. He showed her around, introduced her to his friends, and helped her settle in. Lyra played her part well, making sure to appear grateful and friendly. She carefully observed Jake's reactions and responses, learning more about him and the human emotions she had to manipulate. As days turned into weeks, Lyra started to form a bond with Jake. She had to keep her emotions in check, but she couldn't deny that he was different from what she had expected. Jake was genuine and caring, qualities she hadn't seen in her past encounters with humans. This made her mission even more challenging. The more she got to know him, the harder it became to see him merely as a tool for revenge. Lyra's internal conflict grew with each passing day. On one hand, her mission was clear and she had to follow through. On the other hand, Jake's kindness and the warmth of the human community were starting to touch her heart. She found herself questioning whether her quest for revenge was worth the emotional cost. Despite her growing feelings, Lyra remained focused on her goal. She knew that completing her mission was essential for the justice she sought. But as she continued her interactions with Jake and others, the lines between her mission and her personal feelings began to blur. The path ahead was fraught with challenges. Lyra had to navigate her dual roles carefully, balancing her need for revenge with the genuine connections she was forming. The journey she had embarked on was more complex than she had anticipated, and the real test of her resolve was yet to come. Lyra had spent weeks in the small town, carefully building her cover. She had learned to navigate human social norms and had even started to enjoy some aspects of their life. But now it was time to make her move. Her target was a local event where many people would gather, a perfect chance to meet someone new and begin the next phase of her plan. The event was a festival celebrating the town's harvest. Stalls lined the streets, and the air was filled with the smell of freshly cooked food and the sounds of laughter. Lyra arrived early to blend in with the crowd. She wore a simple dress, hoping to appear just like any other attendee. Her blue skin was hidden under layers of makeup, and her white hair was concealed by a hat. As the festival began, Lyra's eyes scanned the crowd. She was looking for someone who would be easy to approach, someone who was friendly and open. That's when she saw him. Tom, a tall man with a welcoming smile. He was chatting with friends, his laughter easy and genuine. Lyra knew he was the perfect person to approach. With careful steps, Lyra made her way toward Tom's group. She smiled and introduced herself as someone new to the town, eager to experience the local culture. Tom immediately took an interest in her. He was friendly and offered to show her around the festival. Lyra accepted, playing the part of the curious newcomer. As they walked through the stalls, Tom talked about the town's history and the significance of the festival. Lyra listened intently, asking questions and expressing her admiration. Tom seemed pleased with her enthusiasm and began to open up about his own life. He shared stories about his family, his work, and his hobbies. The conversation flowed easily. Lyra found herself enjoying Tom's company more than she had expected. His stories were engaging and his sincerity was disarming. Despite her mission, she couldn't help but feel a connection with him. This was not part of her plan, but she couldn't ignore the growing bond between them. Tom took Lyra to a quiet corner of the festival where they could talk without the noise of the crowd. Here he offered her a drink and asked about her experiences in the town so far. Lyra used this opportunity to get to know him better. She learned about his values and beliefs, finding that they were quite different from what she had anticipated. As the evening wore on, Tom invited Lyra to join him and his friends at a local cafe. They continued their conversation over coffee, and Lyra felt more and more at ease. Tom's friends were warm and welcoming, and they included her in their jokes and stories. For a moment, Lyra forgot about her mission and enjoyed being part of a group. When the night came to an end, Tom walked Lyra back to her place. They chatted casually, and Lyra felt a mix of emotions. Her mission was still the same, but the connection she had built with Tom was becoming a significant part of her experience. Tom wished her a good night and promised to call her soon. Lyra returned to her room, her mind racing. Her plan was moving forward, but she was conflicted. Tom was kind and genuine, and she was starting to care about him. This was a complication she hadn't anticipated. The more she interacted with him, the harder it became to view him as just a part of her revenge scheme. She knew she had to stay focused. Her mission was to get close to humans and weaken their bloodlines, but the lines were blurring. Lyra was starting to see the humans not just as targets, but as real people with emotions and lives. Her resolve was being tested, and she wondered how much longer she could keep her true intentions hidden. The first encounter was a success in terms of her mission, but it had also introduced new challenges. Lyra needed to balance her growing feelings with her goal of revenge. As she lay in bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that her mission had become more complicated than she had ever imagined. Weeks had passed since Lyra's first encounter with Tom at the festival. She had continued to spend time with him, and their connection had grown stronger. What started as a calculated interaction had developed into something more complex. Lyra found herself grappling with her mission and her genuine feelings for Tom. Each day, Lyra and Tom spent more time together. They visited local parks, tried new restaurants, and even attended community events. Tom's warmth and kindness were becoming harder for Lyra to ignore. He was always thoughtful, always considerate. His actions were sincere, and Lyra began to question her own motives. One sunny afternoon, they went for a walk in the park. Tom had planned a picnic, complete with homemade sandwiches and fresh fruit. Lyra marveled at how something as simple as a picnic could be so enjoyable. They spread out a blanket on the grass and talked about their dreams and hopes. Lyra listened carefully as Tom shared his aspirations for the future. "I've always wanted to travel," Tom said, looking up at the sky. "There's so much of the world I haven't seen. I'd love to visit new places and experience different cultures." Lyra smiled, her heart aching slightly. She had come to Earth with a purpose, but now she was learning to appreciate the little things that made human life special. Tom's dreams were simple, but they were genuine. It made her realize how much she had underestimated humans. As they continued to talk, Lyra found herself opening up as well. She shared some of her own stories, carefully avoiding details that might reveal her true identity. Tom was an excellent listener, and he seemed genuinely interested in her life. The bond between them grew stronger with each shared moment. One evening, they attended a small concert together. The music was lively, and the atmosphere was filled with joy. Tom held Lyra's hand as they danced together. The sensation of his touch, the warmth of his presence, it was all becoming more meaningful. Lyra tried to focus on the music, but her thoughts kept drifting to her mission. Despite her growing feelings for Tom, she knew she had to keep her mission in mind. She had to maintain her cover and continue with her plan. But every time she looked into Tom's eyes, She was reminded of the humanity she had come to admire. Her emotions were becoming a tangled mess. One night, as they sat on the porch of Tom's house watching the stars, Lyra felt a wave of confusion. She had started to see Tom as more than just a part of her revenge plot. He was becoming a friend, someone she cared about deeply. The lines between her mission and her personal feelings were blurring more than ever. "Lyra," Tom said softly, breaking the silence. "I know we haven't known each other for long, but I feel like we've become close. You've made a big impact on my life." Lyra's heart skipped a beat. She wanted to respond honestly, to tell Tom how much he meant to her. But she knew she couldn't reveal her true intentions. Instead, she forced a smile and said, "I feel the same way, Tom. You've been a wonderful friend." Tom looked relieved, and they spent the rest of the evening in comfortable silence. Lyra knew that her mission was becoming more complicated. The deeper her connection with Tom grew, the harder it was to keep her feelings in check. As Lyra lay in bed that night, she reflected on the changes in her life. Her mission to exact revenge was no longer just a distant goal. It was intertwined with her personal feelings. The more she learned about humanity, the more she questioned the path she had chosen. The deepening connection with Tom was making her mission more challenging, and Lyra was unsure of what the future held. The summer days were growing shorter and the nights cooler. Lyra and Tom's relationship had evolved into something truly meaningful. They had shared many moments, from quiet evenings under the stars to lively adventures in the city. But the secret Lyra was keeping was becoming harder to hide. Her mission was at a crossroads, and she knew the time had come to confront the truth. One evening, as they sat on a hill overlooking the town, the air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the distant sound of music from a festival. Tom had been more attentive than ever, sensing that Lyra was troubled. They had been spending more time together, and Tom had noticed a change in her demeanor. "Lyra, you've seemed distant lately," Tom said gently, turning to her. "Is something bothering you? You can talk to me." Lyra's heart raced. She had always planned to reveal her true self at some point, but she hadn't expected it to be so soon. The connection they had built made the revelation even more difficult. She took a deep breath, her mind racing through the possible outcomes of this moment. "Tom," Lyra began, her voice trembling slightly, "there's something I need to tell you. I haven't been completely honest with you." Tom's eyes widened with concern. "What do you mean?" Lyra hesitated, the weight of her secret pressing heavily on her shoulders. "I came to Earth with a mission. My people were destroyed by humans, and I wanted to exact revenge. I planned to weaken human bloodlines by getting close to people like you." Tom's face went pale, and he looked at Lyra with a mix of shock and hurt. "You mean everything between us was just part of your plan?" Lyra's heart sank. She nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "Yes, but it's not that simple. The more I've gotten to know you, the more I've realized how wrong my mission is. I've come to care about you deeply, and I'm struggling with what to do next." Tom stood up, his emotions evident. "You used me. You manipulated me. How can I trust anything you say now?" Lyra stood up as well, reaching out to him. "Tom, please understand. I never meant for this to happen. I truly care about you. My feelings are real, and I'm conflicted about my mission." Tom took a step back, his expression a mixture of anger and betrayal. "How can I believe that? You've been hiding the truth from me the whole time. What else are you hiding?" Lyra felt tears welling up. "I'm sorry. I was wrong to keep this from you. I was so focused on my mission that I didn't consider the consequences of my actions on you. I didn't expect to develop real feelings." Tom's anger was replaced by sadness. "I thought we had something special. I thought you cared about me. Now, I don't know what to believe." Lyra took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I understand if you hate me. I know I've hurt you, and I'm willing to accept any consequences. But please know that my feelings for you are genuine. I'm not the same person I was when I arrived." Tom turned away, struggling to process everything. The revelation had shattered the trust between them. "I need time to think. I can't just forget what you've done." Lyra nodded, feeling a deep sense of loss. "I understand. I'll give you the space you need. I just hope you can find it in your heart to understand that my feelings for you are real." As Tom walked away, Lyra was left alone on the hill, the weight of her actions heavy on her shoulders. She watched him disappear into the distance, her heart aching with regret and confusion. The mission that had once seemed so clear was now clouded by the emotions she had developed for Tom. The future was uncertain, and Lyra knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. The days following the revelation were heavy with tension and uncertainty. Lyra tried to focus on her mission, but her heart was no longer in it. The bond she had developed with Tom had changed everything. She felt a deep sense of regret and confusion, struggling to understand what she truly wanted. Tom had withdrawn from Lyra, keeping his distance. Their interactions were minimal, and the warmth they once shared was gone. The town, once full of vibrant energy, now seemed dull and empty to Lyra. She felt like a stranger in a place that had once felt like home. One afternoon, Lyra decided to visit the park where she and Tom had shared many moments. She sat on the same hill where she had revealed her secret, staring out at the view. The sky was clear, and the sun was shining, but it did little to lift her spirits. She thought about the conversations they had shared, the laughter, and the way Tom had made her feel. The pain of losing that connection was overwhelming. As Lyra sat lost in her thoughts, she noticed a figure approaching. It was Tom. He looked hesitant but determined. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. She stood up, her emotions a mix of hope and fear. "Tom," she said softly, her voice trembling. "What are you doing here?" Tom looked at her with a serious expression. "I needed to talk to you. I've been thinking a lot about what you told me. It was hard to process everything at once, but I've come to a decision." Lyra's heart pounded. "What is it?" Tom took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "I've been hurt and confused. You used me and I felt betrayed. But I've also seen how much you've changed. You care about me, and that's something I can't ignore." Lyra felt a glimmer of hope. "Tom, I'm so sorry for what I did. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. My feelings for you are real, and I regret the pain I've caused." Tom nodded slowly. "I believe that your feelings are real. It's clear that you've been struggling with this, but I need to know if you're willing to change. If you really care about me, you need to make a choice." Lyra's eyes widened with determination. "I've already made my choice. I want to be with you. I'm willing to abandon my mission if it means being honest and true to you." Tom's expression softened. "That's a big step. If you're willing to let go of your mission and focus on what really matters, then we can try to move forward. But it will take time to rebuild the trust that was lost." Lyra nodded, tears in her eyes. "I understand. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I want to make things right." Tom reached out and took Lyra's hand. "We'll take it one step at a time. It won't be easy. But if we both work at it, we might find a way to heal and move forward." Lyra squeezed his hand, feeling a sense of relief and hope. "Thank you for giving me a chance. I promise to be honest and work on rebuilding our relationship." As they walked back to the town together, Lyra felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The future was still uncertain, but she was determined to make the most of the second chance she had been given. She knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but with Tom by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. The journey of reconciliation would not be easy, but it was a path Lyra was willing to walk. She had learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and the complexity of human emotions. As she looked at Tom, she realized that the mission she had come with was no longer the most important thing in her life. The chance to build a new future with Tom was what truly mattered now.